Yeah, I'm here. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah, this is my first time doing the staged thing, so I'll just make sure all the kinks are out of it and that, not just silent over there. So yeah, anyways, we know that it's been kind of, I guess from a community standpoint, a little bit slow from our side. We've had some people on vacation, including Tom and myself. I was kicking it in the wonderful beaches of Florida, and Tom, I think you went to the beach as well, didn't you?
I did, but not quite so impressive a beach. I was in a little island in the UK called the Isle of Wight, with very quaint little sandy beaches, but not quite so hot.
Not quite so hot. It was hot down in Florida, but it's it's good to be back. It's good to be with you guys. We know you guys have tons of questions. We had a little bit of issues, with 0.21 rolling out. Some just typical development issues, and some not so much our fault. So we're gonna have a little bit of fun for those of you guys that are kind of nerds and wonder about game development and how things work. Tom and myself are gonna shed a little bit of light on how a patch is kind of created, how it rolls out, who it's got to go through to be authenticated before it kind of gets to everyone. It's kind of a nerdy and really involved subject, but I know a lot of people do like that stuff, so we thought we'd have a little bit of fun with that. But anyways, kicking off, I guess we can go ahead and get into that. So from your side, Tom, because you do kind of some design elements and like product management and stuff like that, what does an update entail for you?
Well, I mean, that's quite a lot.
Everything.
To me, so yeah, I mean, I'm involved from the very start to the very end. So for me, it's planning all of the features that we want to try and deliver, helping with the designs, approving the designs, and then working with our awesome production team to try and figure out how much of it that we can do, given the engineers that we've got. And then, helping get built, answering questions. Then we finally get to the release phase, where there's then just a lot of nail-biting and waiting for Apple to approve things. And then we get into the fun part, which is kind of the analysis and looking at all of the data, as well as all of the great comments from our community, and then trying to figure out where do we go next.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, for those that don't know, so one of the big things you'll see a lot of games, we'll just use one as an example. We'll say Fortnite has been in quote unquote beta forever. The reason some devs do that is because you don't really have to have much authentication when you release your update. You kind of just put it out there, and if it works, awesome. If it doesn't, no big deal. But when you're kind of on a live stage, these things need to go through, whether it's Apple, and they comb through the code, make sure there's nothing malicious, blah, 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 that it works. Same thing for Xbox and things like that. So Android, that's why you can get your unofficial APK, as I'll call it, from some of the sites, but they can have malicious stuff in them because they haven't been authenticated. So there's a lot that we could get into on that level, but we did have a slight delay, and that was just in the authentication process. We were kind of done on our side and had released it, and just waiting for the basically the okay to give it to everybody. So that's where a little bit of the hiccup came from, but just thought I'd give you guys a little fun insight to how updates get rolled out and things like that. But rolling in, the cool stuff in 0.21, brand new toys, the Aleph Null, which I absolutely love, John Wick style. You just run in, guns blazing, double fisting, I love it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Aleph Null. I was playing it a lot in our dev play test prior to release. I loved kind of the imagery of the dual SMGs, and I feel like Aleph Null has really brought something to the game that we didn't have prior. So I'm really proud of what the team did there. It's been a long time as well since we released any new content, so we made a couple of mistakes perhaps. I think we've learned a lot, and certainly we've learned a lot about the process of how we release this gear. So we should get a smoother experience going forward with the next lot of gear that we release. And then I think, the Horn of Supremacy, I know it's been divided in the community. I've seen people talking about it constantly. I will say that, we're having discussions as a team.
It's horrible.
What we want to do with that item.
It's like the worst.
We don't want people to feel bad, but also we do recognise that it is a bit too powerful at the minute. There are ways to use it that weren't intended, and so we need to figure out the best way to get that into a place where we're feeling really good about it. We really want to keep the lifesteal element of that. That's kind of the goal, was that you could blink in and kind of survive. But I think what we hadn't really thought about was those volatile mines and people getting it almost like active completely, like 100% of the time. And then with the global armor on top as well, it just makes you almost unstoppable. So
yeah,
for sure. For sure. I've seen some nasty builds with, I've seen IsoRod and like Iconic and those guys kind of and you know what, here's something, guys, real quick. Also, I see some hands being raised up. We'll take questions here towards the end. For right now, Tom and myself are just going to have a chat with you guys, and then I promise at the end we will get questions answered and bring some people up to speak and speak their minds. But yeah, jumping back in, I mean, you're always going to have this goes for any game. You're going to have a high skill ceiling and you're going to have a low skill floor, what we like to call it, where your average player just plays the game and doesn't really know how to, I would say, abuse abilities or certain weapons and things like that. And then you get people like IsoRod and Iconic and those guys that go insane, and they show us things that we didn't even know were possible. We start looking like, oh, we didn't even think that you'd be able to do that. But so that's the really high skill ceiling. So like Tom said, we're learning a lot on these gear releases. So keep that in mind, and we'll either tone things back or we'll not necessarily tone it back, or we'll make adjustments and things like that, so that the things that can be broken and break the game won't break the game. But yeah, the horn, I don't know. I put it in my build, and I like it, but I still really like my Ring of the Veil. I just like having my primal. So
that's because you are too cheap.
I'm too cheap. Fair enough. I
think Ring of the Veil as well is another one.
It's a bit much.
Actually, could use a bit of thought around it. I think
30 seconds is too high.
On this patch is like we really wanted to release some new gear that was good. Like we didn't. Our biggest fear was to release something that just felt weak and pathetic. And so I think we did urge on the side of making it too powerful because we felt I'd rather that way than the other. But what we also didn't really think about was how it combines with all of the other gear in the game, and so we did do quite a lot of playtesting with it.
As we do.
But everyone wanted to just use the new shinies, so everyone was like, sticking to just using those things, and then we didn't really test them in use with lots of the other equipment, especially some of the equipment that doesn't get used quite so frequently. So I think that's where we went wrong, and going forward we want to make sure that we don't repeat that. But I'm sure we will. So fingers crossed, we can make it on this one.
For sure. Have you thrown any of the new gear into your current build, or are you sticking with like what you know and what's comfortable?
I occasionally use the Aleph Null. I don't actually have the horn unlocked at a very high level, so I'm not really using that. I think you have to kind of get the infusion levels up a bit on the horn for it to become to the point where it's possibly better than what I already use. I'm also just a big fan of shotguns, and I quite like to take I've got a very high level extortion talisman, which I find to be a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, I'm a Borson for life. That's my baby.
Yeah, it's easy peasy.
So moving forward a little bit, I did see somebody posted in the Megathread kind of the little roadmap that we put out. So for July, patch 0.22, showing off the new weapon, the impact, Congate, and new Trinket. update pistol weapons. Don't necessarily have to spoil, the new Trinket or anything, but could you give the guys and gals maybe a little thoughts or tips and tricks? How does the impact conjugate work? What is that exactly?
Yeah, so it's a heavy weapon, what can I say? I think you'll be probably, certainly with the Trinket, you'll be wanting to dodge a lot. It's gonna hopefully involve the dodge mechanic a lot more. So
I don't know which one it is.
To see players rolling around Matrix style with some heavy pistols.
Nice. That actually sounds pretty fun.
I think I know which
I
one
haven't
it
got
is.
to try any of that new stuff yet. I don't even know if it's been in.
It's in the dev build, so you should get
in
it.
the dev build? I need to get in there. I've been so busy, I haven't been able to jump in that.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. I just wish they were primary weapon rather than heavy, so you don't keep running out of ammo.
Right. Well, we have kind of the road to rank, so we'll move into that a little bit. We've talked before. We kind of have what we would call I wouldn't call it a ranked system, but like a rating system in Eventide currently. We're moving that to Hydra. What can players look forward to as far as this new system goes? Because I don't want to say mode necessarily. It's more like a system in the traditional sense, but you're kind of in charge of that whole thing. I think you'd be able to explain it a lot better than I could, and kind of what is it we're going for here for the players.
Yeah, it's certainly not a new mode, but what it will be is kind of a better way for you to track your progress through the game in terms of how well you're competing against other players. So it's going to have like a league system that you can climb up through. We really want to make it very easy for you to show off kind of how far you've got through the rankings, so that other players can see what rank you are, and make that much more apparent on the screens, and hopefully that'll also help kind of with matchmaking as well. That will tie into our matchmaking systems so that like ranked players get matched together better. In terms of like sitting on Hydra, Hydra is still probably our most competitive mode, but we also know that a lot of people really love Eventide, which does have this kind of light ranking system on the minute. However, it's kind of more just like a collect points system, and then you occasionally get a title for your points. So we want to get something that's a little bit more involved in that. We want it to have a seasonal theme to it, so that it will reset every now and again, and then you've got to climb up through the ranks again, but you'll get rewards for your progress. So we also want to be more rewarding players for playing the game for longer periods of time. So at the minute you can't have your days and weeklies, but there's nothing sort of on that slightly longer time period. So we want to make sure that we're rewarding players who play for like a month to 2 months, depending on where we decide to balance the ranked durations.
For sure. Can players look forward to anything like? What are we looking at? Gear? Are we just looking at titles and shinies, or what kind of stuff? What kind of rewards can they look forward to for grinding?
Yeah, so I want to make sure at the least we get a title in there from day one. I want there to be exclusive content that you can't earn any other way, and that players can kind of like have a badge of honor, as it were, to show that they were there, that they did that, that no one else can come in later and get. And then also, I'm constantly looking for new ways to get in the game, to unlock new gear, or to just get more dupes in a less random way. So I expect to see as well some gear drops as well as rewards as you climb through those.
Awesome. I know that's been one of the community's biggest pain points is, more so the randomness of trying to maybe make a specific build, and they just either can't get a hold of the gear itself whatsoever, or they can't get a hold of a duplicate, and it kind of makes you, play what you've got, which, is fun in a sense, but I think this is just, of course, my personal opinion. I think humans, we need a goal to grind for, and I think just having that kind of ambiguous goal has been rough for a lot of people. So I know we've talked quite a bit on our progression and ascension rework and kind of things, but I don't know if you're open to talk a little bit about what you guys have been working on in the backdrop as to maybe help alleviate some of those pain points.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that I'm working on in the background, and so I'm not going to make any promises to when they'll get released. They're not officially on any community roadmaps yet, but I'm looking to bring back XP from matches. So
Thank God!
XP that you use in a match at the end of the match. We'd also love to try and make it a lot clearer to players, like why you get the XP that you get at the end of the match. It's still a mystery to me, even now, exactly how we're calculating all of those XP. Not XP, shard rewards at the end of a match, for example. So I want to make that a little bit more transparent so the players can figure out what exactly they need to be doing in order to kind of earn more rewards. And then also that you can target those rewards a little bit more, so you'll be getting the weapon XP at the end of the match for the weapon that you used. And then in addition to that, also looking to make the Quint system a little bit more similar to Dust, in that you can just go to the infusion screen for the weapon you wish to infuse, and if you've got enough Quint, you can just finish that infusion with whatever dupes you already have, rather than having to wait for that rotating store to come around with the item that you want 5 times or however many times it is to get those dupes. So hopefully that will make it a little bit easier to at least focus farm the things that you really want to get. And then also when you do want to switch your build, at least you know what that path is to get the next item leveled up. So those are two.
I think having a path would be
changes to make.
I think that'll help. Kind of see where you're going. You can see the road ahead a little bit, you know.
Yes, exactly. So you can make a little plan at least for, you know, worst case scenario. I've just got to open this many chests, get this much Quint, and then I can finish that upgrade. Or, you know, maybe you'll get lucky during your grind and you'll get it sooner. But at least you'll know that there is a finite amount of grind. Or at the minute, you know, you could keep going forever and never see that thing you really, really wanted. So I want to get rid of that for all players, that there is a definite path, a maximum length, as it were, that you'll have to do in order to get the thing that you're really after.
I'd appreciate
Definitely. I want to jump back real quick to ranked. I forgot to talk about why is it that we're moving away from Hydra towards or moving away from Eventide, I should say, into Hydra for
Hydra actually is faster.
Yes. Is Eventide going to keep its same system, or what are we looking to do there?
So that is probably the hardest question for me to answer right now.
Okay.
And this is maybe, you know, where people can start sending me some feedback. I'd love to hear people's thoughts. Like, you know, right now we've been building out all of the screens for our ranked mode, our leaderboard system, and all of that stuff. We haven't actually yet hooked it up to any game modes. So, you know, we always felt that Hydra felt a lot more focused. It was really obvious kind of, you know, what your
It's faster.
contribution during the match was, and we felt that was great for ranked mode. However, there is just still something absolutely magical about Eventide that keeps drawing some players back, you know, day after day.
I don't even like this
match after
version.
match. And it is a lot of fun. I love playing Eventide myself. So, you know, there is a possibility that we could go either way with this right now. I need to make a decision on this really soon. And, you know, part of me is just like, yeah, Eventide's the best, it's so much fun, but then there's also the challenge of like, well, you know, it's 12v12, sometimes you get into just a bad match and we don't want to punish people on their ranking systems. Well, at least on Hydra, even if you've got, you know, not the best team, because it's only 5v5, you can have a lot more influence on that, and you can become the paragon or whatever and try and turn that match around. So yeah, it's a tough one. We're looking at the data to see if there's any clues there as to what might make a better rank system. I do think, you know, Eventide is really unique. I can't think of another game, especially on mobile, that's quite the same as Eventide and has that magic. While Hydra being 5v5 is a lot more predictable and a lot shorter. So yeah, I do think though if we were to go Eventide, there'd be a bit of work that I'd like to do to that mode. To make it a little bit more accessible for new players, and also I think there's a couple of mechanics in there that aren't quite as fun. I think, you know, one of the changes we made, which IsoRod brought up the other day to me, is like, you know, now primals last forever. You really should get a reward when you take one down, because it's much harder to kill a primal than it is a human often. So, you know, getting some points for your team on Eventide if you take down a primal would feel like a good thing, I think. And then I'm surprised that this isn't already exploding in the Megathread, but like, I know there's a strong demand to bring back the draining mechanic.
Yes.
Where one team hit the threshold and point.
Yes, man. Yes.
And that draining mechanic did bring a real good element of like this possibility to come back and win a match.
You have no way to come back right now.
First half.
There's no way to come back now.
That's something that I do want to give some thought to, and I make absolutely no promises.
For sure. I think for me as a former esports like player and professional mobile player, I think Hydra has it plays the best, I would say, for a ranked and like a competitive mode.
Correct.
Just,
it's fast and it's quick.
Ways to victory. It's easy. It's 5v5 like you said.
Yep.
I do agree. Eventide is super duper awesome, but again, yeah, like you said, it's 12 versus 12, and you know, you're just one small cog in the wheel at that point, and you can either get lost or not. So got a lot to think about on that, but I think the community will be excited, and you know, we definitely love to hear your guys' feedback. Tom loves all the feedback, so please send it our way. We try to incorporate as many ideas as we can along the way.
I do try and respond to a lot of the feedback that comes in. I do read it nearly every day, so do keep leaving feedback for us. It does get read.
For sure. Well, we're going to run now into kind of some requests and see what's been, kind of take some questions and things that we've seen. Let's jump up here into the Megathread. We'll start at the top. And feel free to jump in here with me, Tom, and if you see something, question. I see Silver has pizza. How's that pizza, Silver? That sounds actually pretty good. Nerf Primal Eye. I've seen that quite a bit.
Yeah, it needs to be nerfed.
Bring Vainglory back. Of course, everybody here loves Vainglory, okay? We do. Let's see. IsoRod has some balancing suggestions here.
Were they on the horn? I bet they were.
Yep, on the horn, yep.
Which way does IsoRod think we should go?
So it's at level 20, 30 to 40% damage reduction lifesteal at 15 to 20%. Why? Because lifesteal works with any damage.
Okay, so reduce the lifesteal.
Yes.
Yeah, that is definitely one suggestion we talked about.
It's fucking ridiculous.
You know, it was designed with lifesteal in mind, and then we stuck this like global armor on there, which I think almost invulnerable, as well as like then getting all your health back.
Oh no!
Videos now posted with people like leaping into a group of enemies at no health almost, and then just like getting back up to full health in seconds.
I actually took ISO's, he's been using Primal Fire, so when you hit somebody with the Primal Fire,
You're healing.
it lifesteals back for you.
It's horrible.
And you get that, like, instant,
Shield.
Like, basically your ability cooldown is like, so you can just spam Primal Fire and, like, lifesteal at the same time.
It's horrible.
It's a pretty good build, so I like that.
It's horrible.
Yeah, Primal Fire, I got that off my bank account, unfortunately.
It's horrible.
Somebody said they'd like to see seasonal skins for maps. That'd be
Yes.
interesting. Maybe like
I would love that too.
Winter cover or something, a little snowfall.
It would be cool.
I know we have the back, but that would be cool.
I'm not sure if we got the spec or not for that. I think that might be a little bit easier than like changing maps.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seasonal.
Art is one of those things where it's
Seasonal would be fun as hell.
Consuming to change things, but we may well have some tech that just allows us to like add a dusting of snow or dry up the grass, make all the bushes a bit brown or something. Oh,
for sure.
I like that idea. We'll see what we can do.
Yes.
See,
Yes.
Any thoughts on guilds and or also battle pass?
Battle Pass. We've started work on the Battle Pass. It's still really early days, but we've got a very good idea what we want to do with that. And again, this is going to be a place where we'll be able to reduce that random element. We're not necessarily going to give players choice, but at least they'll know what they're getting. I think it should help hopefully get people excited when they see the battle pass, and hopefully you'll like the rewards that we put on it. But yes, we've started work on it, and that should come at a point after ranked mode. And I really look forward to that. Battle pass is one of my favourite features in games. I spend way too much money on various battle passes.
For sure. I do like the guild. I know it's a lot more tech than I think a lot of people understand what needs to go into it to implement it the right way. But I do agree, Mashir. I think having some sort of guild system could help out with rank to make it maybe easier to catch up with your squad mates and things like that. If you've got a squad of 5 that you like to play rank with, type thing.
It would be nice to have a guild system. I think it's just so much work that right now we just can't make any promises on it. I think, there are much bigger fish to fry. And I think, first of all, we just need to fix our party system. Our party system is no way near desirable at the minute. It's implemented a bit too quick. And that's something that we need to go back with, take a bit of time on. And that's really the basic before we start thinking about guilds.
Yeah, the bodies are
This is more on banners, and I've seen this question before. Do we plan on, expanding on the banners, and because there's a couple I think where you can't necessarily have a full loadout in one banner.
Protector.
Do we plan on expanding on that with some of the new gear that's coming out, where you can kind of fill in those banner gaps?
How about just bringing back Warden?
This is something that we need to maybe have also a little bit of a reshuffle around. They were designed as a way to kind of help players find items that work well together, and yet I feel now that is entirely not true.
Correct.
The banner system and the item combos is like
weird.
The banner's just like a tiny bit extra on top, and they're not really combining very well. So I don't want to just say like, oh yeah, well we'll just throw out another protector ability, because actually,
just bring back.
Well, with the other protector gear, then it's kind of pointless.
Nah, just bring back these two.
I think there is more work to do with banners, and we might have to do something a bit bigger on that, and start switching around the banners on lots of different pieces of gear in order to get that to a place where we're much happier with it.
Right. Let's see, we got NKL's asking about cosmetics. Any plans for cosmetics in the future, or are characters kind of set in stone type of thing? I know it's a little bit of an artsy question.
Yeah, I think right now we're taking it one day at a time, and cosmetics is, unfortunately, we just don't have the tech right now to do cosmetics. So there's a whole bunch of tech work that we would need to do before we can even start on the art. And so it's probably a little bit further down. I hope we get to the point fairly, in the next few months or so, where we can start really thinking about if we want to undergo the work for cosmetics, or if we think there's more value elsewhere.
Right. I mean, if I could have a hot pink Borson, just getting kills with a hot pink Borson sounds pretty interesting to me. This one's a good one here. Says, can you make it so that if you get an assist when a person you heal / buff kills an enemy, or kind of just overall playing as a support player? And I've seen this feedback before. It seems kind of underwhelming. You don't really get appreciated in the XP.
You don't get appreciated for anything.
For being a support player, when we all do know that we do need those support players that
nobody wants to play it.
Out, are the tanks. So do we have any plans in the future to help kind of the support players out?
There's no plans right now from me. It's a little bit out of my remit in terms of what I can achieve, but I totally agree with this feedback. And it goes beyond just getting an assist when the person you heal kills an enemy. We should also be looking at getting extra points in Eventide when you're doing heals.
Correct.
And other support abilities or tanking, taking extra damage. So I think. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Someone's calling me, I don't know who. Anyway, hang up on those people. That was up to them. Yeah, so we do need to make support a bit more attractive, and also just like rewarding to play. And again, like I think you are getting shards under the hood for doing healing, but we just don't expose any of that information to players, so it's complete black box. And that's what I want to like crack open and really explain and make much more transparent. I think that will also help new players learn how to play better, because you get
yes.
doing things in matches, but we don't really tell you. So
what are you doing?
We want to make that loop a lot more gratifying. It's like, oh, if I do a good thing, I get nice rewards. And right now, it's like I did some stuff and I got some rewards. Does that come from the stuff I did or from something else? You just don't.
Right. Here's a really good one actually. It says, "Can you guys let us know how you'll balance ranked with the gear? Will everyone have the same level of items and ranked, or is it going to be? I assume the same as like a typical game. What you bring in is what you've got. But that is
for our first iteration, as we want to get it out as fast as possible, it'll be what you have is what you've got in the game, and then as we go, we'll learn, we'll react. And if it makes sense, then we can totally change the rules for ranked mode. Maybe we'll just have a cap. We want to make it easier to get those levels, get your items to level 20 anyway, so it should feel that when you're playing in ranked, you can quite easily have those weapons at least quite a high level, and then the infusions is a bit more to chase after.
Definitely. Oh, see, and people are enjoying the double shards weekend. They're asking if we could maybe do some more of those.
Oh hell yeah!
And help them with the grind a little bit. Not my decision, but I think it gives people something to grind for, and it, brings them back to the game if they're.
I'm just amazed that it worked technically. Now that we know that it works and we can do it, we'll be totally looking to do much more of that sort of thing.
For sure. Iconic's asking, will players in the future be able to target weapons they want with Quint / Dust? I think
Correct.
we kind of touched on this a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Dust and Quint should be used to upgrade weapons that you already own. So the way I see it is that Dust and Quint are used for upgrading only. They're not used for acquisition of new stuff. And yes, I want it to be direct. So that's one of the changes that I'm looking to get made in the medium term. It's going to be tomorrow or time next week, but hopefully in a month or two, is that you'll be able to go to any item you already own, and you'll be able to see a Quint cost, and that Quint cost will take you to the next infusion level.
Thank God, that'd be
So
way
if you really
better.
want to just save up and target one piece of gear, you can do.
For sure. So I've got a couple requesters to speak. Be good, guys. I trust you guys. Be good. I'm going to bring you up to speak. We'll go with Iconic first, since he was the first one to raise their hand. So, Iconic.
Just gotta accept. Yep.
There we go.
Hey,
What you got, Iconic?
Hey,
I'm not gonna show ISO's thunder because I know he has some particular areas he wants to talk about. I just want to talk about the progression system and what it means for ranked. I think a lot of us are worried about the fact that because players aren't able to target the gear that they want directly.
This is fair.
In ranked, it will spell out an atmosphere where players will lose or felt like they lost because they didn't have the means of getting the gear needed to compete, versus players lost because they felt like they didn't put too much time into the game to learn the game system. So, with the recent patch and the way the horn was implemented in the shop and the new weapon was, are y'all looking to are y'all looking to drop weapons in the game for a free period, and then where they could, I could buy it with Quint versus having to buy a bundle,
so
and only a bundle?
we are looking at this at the minute. So really, this patch, we just really wanted to make sure that we could get a new weapon out there. And in fact, as many of you probably noticed, it went a little bit wrong at first. And then we had to do a quick hot patch and fix things up. So we've learned some really important lessons there on how we get that new gear in the game. So now we feel confident we can do that. We've actually been spending a lot of this week, the team has been looking at building new quests and how we will go around doing that in order to grant at least some initial dupes of the weapon, so that anyone who plays, and we don't want them to be like a massive grind fest, we want them to be, you know, if you put in a little bit of effort, a reasonable amount, then you can go and get this weapon. We also ideally want to make sure that those quests stay around forever, so then as new players come in, they've always got a way to get all of the gear that we've been adding over the past few months to a basic level. So we're not talking about like 10 starring them, I'm talking about, you know, you'll get them to at least 1 or 2 stars with you know, enough dust to have leveled them up if that's what you want to do, to again a competitive point. I think that will really help with the competitiveness. I'm also, like I said, I want to bring back the XP from matches, so that as you use your gear in matches, they'll level up.
Thank God.
Which should really make it much simpler for new players to figure out how to get their gear leveled up.
Yes.
As well as also helping, you know, the veterans who've been around a bit longer to get that final few pieces of gear up to max level that they want. Which means that we'll take out the random, which means we'll reduce the randomness at least in the chests. Possibly even take it out completely, just replace it with dust, so that as you're playing, you're leveling up to the specific gear you're using, and then you're also getting some dust through the shards from the chest system, which you can then spread around wherever, as a player, you want. So one of our mantras is we want that to feel a lot more generous.
Hey Tom, so when you have a max level gear at level 20, and I think ISO ran into this issue, when you have it at the 10th infusion, and speaking now and possibly in the future, will players be able to get dust if they, you know, use that weapon past max or at level 20? Will they get dust for using it in a match even though they already have the max XP on it?
Yeah, so we're going to be bringing back the tech that we had before on that, so I don't actually know quite yet what will happen. And so if someone knows and remembers, maybe ISO can even like chuck this answer into the chat for us. You know, step 1 will be bring back the tech we've got, and so we'll have that same functionality that we used to have. And then step 2 will be to like improve and make it better. So right now, you know, I know that once you've got a level 10 star item, you could still go beyond that and get the loot drops, which is it's really not what we wanted. It's just, you know, in order to ship any changes, we kind of had to get stuff out. And getting stuff to 10 stars is quite a feat anyway, so it doesn't impact too many players. I do want to change dupes to Quint, and then probably we'll change extra XP into either shards or dust, something along those lines.
Okay, and one more question. This one's more about the balance patches. I appreciate Juju in identifying me as a player, but I think a lot of players, a few of us, can look at the balance patches.
Correct.
And kind of see where it can be exploited to
by reading it.
Game and going on that point. We just feel like it's very easy with the changes to the balancing of this game to make it very exploitable, and we have been wondering as a community, possibly
we're volunteering,
trusted beta testers or trusted players in the process of balancing.
He took everything else. He stole my thunder.
Volatile lines or Supremacy.
Yeah, it's easy to.
Again, so what is your thoughts as a team about that? Because I know it's been brought up multiple times.
Yeah, I absolutely hear you on that, and I'm looking into it. So we wanted to have like a public beta test round style thing that you see in a lot of MMOs. At the minute, that's just not feasible for us to deliver alongside delivering all of the other features we want to do.
That's fine.
However, you know, we have our internal dev builds. I'm looking into what, you know, the feasibility of getting people into that is. And if that's not feasible, then, you know, we'll find out, at least at the minimum, we can invite a group of you into some streams, some private streams, and at least show you the items in action, and let that you commentate, as it were, and give feedback that way. I'm hoping that I can figure out a way to get.
I can even add to that.
It would be a small group. We'd organise, an hour or something for some play testing, and sit down with you. Probably just observe the streams, and we'd just watch you guys go at it, because you're way better than I am. So I would just get hopelessly annihilated. So I'd probably be better off watching. But yeah, I would love to be able to get more community hands-on with content before we release it.
Yeah.
It's just trying to figure out the technicalities around that, and also the timelines. So I expect we won't necessarily be able to do that for the next patch. I do hope
That's not even.
we can at least share a written description fairly soon.
Correct.
Of the items, and then beyond that, hopefully we can get some hands-on.
All right, thank you. Take it away, ISO.
Alright, I'm gonna move you back. Appreciate you, Iconic, and bring IsoRod in here.
Thank you very much. Good questions.
Hey guys,
Alright, there he is.
Iconic still stole my thunder. He basically hit all my points already. So the whole point of what you were talking about, everything I figured out that would break the game, I did it just through reading. I didn't even play it. I didn't even see it. I just would read stuff and do double takes. Be like, that does not make sense. I'm like, that can't be right. And then I'll read something else, and it's actually, that's what's written there. So it's, even if you guys just, as you're making the changes and you just let even a small select group of players that you trust, I'm volunteering. It's not even a paid thing. I would literally just tell you, this is how this will break the game. Because I could see it with Primal Eye when I read it. I could see it when they nerfed Isia. I could see it when they put out the horn. It's just based on the gear that we have and the combos that I've done and the stuff that I've played, I can see it instantaneously. It's like, it's not even, you wouldn't even have to do play testing. You wouldn't even have to get us in there. You just let us read it. And I could literally tell you, put this, and this together, and this is the result. So it could be a lot easier for you, so you don't have to work so hard trying to move so much things around or moving mountains to just try to get us to play it. We could probably give you the feedback pretty easy, just being able to read it a little bit early. That's pretty much, I think, the biggest thing. The stuff also with gear, a lot of people say get all the vaulted items back. I would say at the minimum, just so at least you have full banners like protector banner and stuff like that, Warden should still be in the game. It's different enough from the leap attack, and it's literally like blink and blink strike. They're the same, except one does damage and one doesn't. The thing with Warden is it's protector and the other one is Vanguard, so getting rid of it didn't make any sense. It's the same thing with a lot of the catalytic abilities. Catalytic shield makes sense. I wouldn't understand why you wouldn't want a team synergy thing where you could actually protect yourself. There were players who actually would play catalytic shield and save their players in games because they were actually doing what a support person is supposed to do. So that's pretty much it for me. Like, you guys see the stuff with the Horn of Supremacy. Exactly what you were saying in Eventide. The draining mechanic would make a big difference. I'll tell you, we used to play it and the game used to be completely lopsided. I could still come into a game when it was a 1v4 in the middle of the end of Eventide with Final Harvest and still get close and or win games. Where in this new mechanic, or the way this new Eventide is, it's damn near impossible. I can't do it. And the funny thing about Eventide is I used to be able to affect the tide of a game by myself because I understood how to hold the outpost. I knew what to do there. But here, no matter what I do, I need to do like 4 things at once to be able to change the dynamic of the game, and it's not possible. So no one player can come into Eventide now and make that much of a difference. I can come into games and get close to winning, but I'll never win if the lead is too high, or if there's 2 or 3 more players on the other team that know how to play versus the team that I'm on. And my only last thing I would say, the same way you guys did that tutorial for Hydra, you guys need a tutorial for Eventide that shows how to teleport, what shards do, how to win each event. It can be less than a minute. and it could be the final states of every event, but it's so needed, and I don't understand why it's being avoided. It's one of the things that needed to happen like a year ago. So that's pretty much what I got. So thanks.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there were really any questions there.
No, there wasn't really questions. It wasn't questions. I kind of got him.
So yeah, I think maybe I'll be DMing you the notes so you can tell me how to win in all the dev games.
Yeah, I could. If I can see your...
I'd send you some sneaky notes. You can tell me what's broken, and then I can go and prove myself in battle.
Pretty much, yeah.
I like your thinking on Eventide. I totally agree with you. I think what we need to do is, like the tutorial, as you say, I think it was avoided in the past because there was a little bit of nervousness about how much work it would be, and then actually the Hydra tutorial turned out to not be too bad. So
yeah,
I think there is some scope there to go and do that. Hopefully, and yeah, I think that will really help. I think also we just need to be a little bit clearer with our messaging in the UI when you're gaining and losing points, and then I think that will really help with bringing back the final harvest drain mechanic if we decide to do that. Because yeah, I think the main reason I believe it got taken out was just confusion. People were like, oh, so I've just got to score a certain amount of points to win, and then suddenly their points were going down. They didn't figure out that actually they just needed to get their enemies to zero.
Do you know what's real funny about that? The only reason the whole old group of of Secret Service guys knew how to play, Cloakin did a war mode video that explained the whole mode. That's the only reason why, even though it took a day or two to get acclimated to the map because it was so huge, we all knew how to play it because there was a video that literally told us what to do and what each part did. There are people who didn't watch it, but most of us who did had no problem playing Eventide. So it's a simple explanation would actually make it super easy for people to follow. That's all that's missing.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think let's get a tutorial in there, and maybe Nick and I can make another video. It probably won't be anywhere near as professional as Cloakins, but you can just watch us failing around.
Well, hey guys, we have got a ton to do, and we're gonna do more of these. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna say our prayers today. But that doesn't mean that we don't want to continue to hear your feedback. We love the feedback. Please send it to us. We've got several things we want to get done in the next couple of months, so it's going to be a busy few months for us on the back end. And yeah, that's all I can say is just please continue to send us your feedback. And Tom and I were on vacation the last couple weeks, but we are back, so we're going to be getting some play tests going where we can hang out, play games with you guys, and you guys can feel free to ask questions or things like that. So that's all I've got for today. Tom, anything else from you before we say goodbye to the fine folks?
I don't think so. I think just a recognition that we need to do better with our balancing, and we're going to try. We're working hard on that. That is something that we're looking at, and I honestly appreciate all the feedback, and I do read it, and I do try and respond to a lot of it. So I know sometimes I get tagged on stuff, and that's cool as well. But yeah, when it comes to the feedback, I can't help so much with the balancing and the gameplay. I'll certainly bring it to the attention of the team. But anything else, I try and make a difference.
For sure. Alright guys, well, I think that's going to do it for us, and we'll see you out there on the battlefield.
Thanks everyone.
Okie dokie. 50 minutes. Let's stop that. Hopefully all that was recorded. Let me just double check. Yes, all that was recorded. Stop. No.